Introduction: The Path to Unstoppable Leadership. There are moments in history when leadership rises above the noise, not because it was loud, but because it mattered. Think of Malala Yousafzai, who stood for education in the face of violence, or Václav Havel, who moved from dissident playwright to president, helping guide his country with principle and poise. These were not flawless heroes. They were ordinary individuals who chose to lead with conviction, clarity, and courage. And in doing so, they became unstoppable. That kind of leadership is rare, but not unreachable. It does not come from titles or authority. It comes from principles, from habits, from choices made in silence again and again until character becomes destiny. This book is about those principles, the 30 laws of unstoppable leadership. Laws not invented, but discovered. Patterns distilled from the lives of history's most influential leaders, backed by psychology and proven in today's high-performance environments. They apply to anyone, anywhere, at any stage of leadership. Leadership has always been challenging, but today it is even more complex. Truth races against misinformation. Distraction outpaces discipline. In this kind of world, only those who lead with purpose, resilience, and values will rise and remain. Unstoppable leadership is not built on charisma or chance. It is built on consistency, on mastering yourself before leading others, on creating trust before crises, on shaping environments where people thrive, not just survive, and ultimately, on building something that lasts beyond you. These 30 laws are a roadmap for that journey. Some may seem simple, others may challenge everything you have believed, but all have one thing in common. They have been tested by time, validated by research, and forged in the fires of real-world leadership. Take the law of trust. A Google study on high-performing teams found that psychological safety, the belief that one will not be punished for speaking up, is the most important dynamic in successful groups. Rozovsky, 2015. And trust is not built in grand gestures. It is earned in the small moments, the quiet integrity of keeping your word. Or consider the law of endurance. Research by psychologist Emily Esfahani-Smith shows that leaders who focus on meaning, rather than fleeting happiness, develop deeper resilience and lead more sustainable lives. Smith, 2017. True leaders do not avoid hardship. They find the strength to persist because their reason for leading is greater than their fear of failing. Vision matters too. Great leaders do not just respond to change, they anticipate it. They paint futures worth pursuing. Satya Nadella did this at Microsoft by reshaping the company's identity around growth, humility, and service, not just software. His vision reframed an entire culture. The laws are divided into 5 phases. Self-mastery, developing the internal strength that anchors great leadership. Personal effectiveness, leading yourself with clarity and intention. Influence and trust, building credibility through character and communication. Team and organizational leadership, mobilizing people towards shared purpose. Legacy and impact, creating change that outlives your presence. Each phase builds on the last. You cannot empower others if you lack self-control. You cannot build teams without trust. You cannot shape legacy without vision and discipline. These laws are universal. Whether you lead a tech company, a local nonprofit, a sports team, a ministry, or a family, what matters most is not the title you carry. It is the principles you live by. Great leadership begins with deep self-awareness. Leaders who thrive long-term know themselves, their triggers, values, and blind spots. They make space for reflection, not just reaction. They prepare not only for opportunities, but also for opposition. Equally vital is the law of habits. Research from Duke University suggests nearly 40% of our daily actions are not decisions, but habits. Neal et al., 2006. Leaders who engineer their routines, morning disciplines, focused work blocks, recovery time, gain momentum while others burn out. And when adversity strikes, the law of courage becomes indispensable. History does not remember the comfortable, it remembers the brave. Whether it is a whistleblower speaking truth or a founder risking reputation for innovation, progress always demands a step beyond fear. This brings us to purpose. Knowing why you lead makes it easier to endure hardship, resist distraction, and stay consistent. The law of purpose reminds us that meaning fuels motivation and mission strengthens endurance. Leaders anchored in purpose do not just survive challenges, they grow through them. Their why becomes the compass that keeps them grounded, especially when the path becomes hard. Yet leadership is never a solo pursuit. The law of empowerment teaches us that the greatest leaders multiply themselves. They create environments where others grow, where potential is unlocked, where every voice matters, and where credit is shared more than claimed. Finally, there is the law of legacy. Leadership is not about spotlight moments. It is about the ripple effect you leave behind. Systems, culture, values, these outlast policies and platforms. The true measure of a leader is not how loudly they lead, but how long their impact lives. This book is not designed to be skimmed. It is designed to be studied. Each chapter introduces one law, grounds it in real-life stories and research, and offers a framework for applying it. At the end of each chapter, you will find further reading to deepen your journey. Some laws may confirm what you have sensed all along. Others may confront you. That is intentional. Growth begins at the edge of comfort. If you want to become an unstoppable leader, do not rush. Sit with each law, reflect, apply, measure your growth. Leadership is not about performance, it is about presence. It is about showing up every day with humility, grit, and grace. And when you lead this way authentically, consistently, and intentionally, you will not just command respect, you will earn it. Because true leadership is not given, it is cultivated. One principle, one decision, one law at a time. Chapter 1. The Law of Self-Mastery. Before a leader can move others, they must first master themselves. Self-mastery is not about perfection, it is about intentional progress. Every principle of leadership flows from this well of personal discipline, emotional regulation, and internal clarity. Leadership always begins on the inside. Imagine standing on the deck of a great ship in the middle of a raging storm. The winds howl, the waves crash, and chaos surrounds you. But at the helm stands a steady captain, eyes forward, hands firm, anchored by inner calm. That captain's steadiness does not eliminate the storm, it simply refuses to be ruled by it. This is the essence of self-mastery. Consider Booker T. Washington. Born into slavery, he rose to become one of the most influential African-American leaders of his time. He led not with anger, but with remarkable restraint, emotional discipline, and clarity of purpose. He believed education and character were the keys to empowerment, and he embodied both. Despite harsh criticism from multiple sides, he maintained a calm dignity that earned widespread respect. That was self-mastery in motion. Leaders who fail to master themselves eventually lose the moral authority to lead others. You cannot expect excellence from your team while excusing mediocrity in yourself. You cannot expect trust if your temper regularly damages relationships. You cannot champion growth if you resist feedback. The hardest person any leader will ever lead is themselves. Psychologist Roy Baumeister's research on self-regulation shows that willpower functions like a muscle. It fatigues with overuse, but grows stronger with training. Leaders who develop routines that conserve energy and prioritize focus make better decisions, resist destructive impulses, and sustain high performance. Self-mastery is not about grinding harder. It is about managing energy strategically. Take David Goggins, a former Navy SEAL who overcame childhood abuse, poverty, obesity, and learning disabilities to become one of the world's toughest endurance athletes. Through sheer self-mastery, he reshaped his mind and body, running ultramarathons, breaking pull-up records, and completing some of the world's most grueling military training. Goggins often says, "You have to build calluses on your mind," reminding us that self-mastery is not about talent. It is about choosing mental discipline daily, especially when no one is watching. But self-mastery is not just physical. It is deeply emotional. Emotional intelligence is a cornerstone of effective leadership. Dr. Mark Brackett, founder of the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence, emphasizes that leaders must first recognize and regulate their own emotions before they can empathize or communicate effectively with others. Unregulated emotions lead to erratic leadership. Controlled emotions allow clarity under pressure. Viktor Frankl, the Austrian neurologist, psychiatrist, and Holocaust survivor, embodies this. While enduring unimaginable suffering in Nazi concentration camps, Frankl demonstrated extraordinary self-mastery by controlling his internal response to external horrors. He later wrote that while everything can be taken from a person, one ultimate freedom remains: the ability to choose one's attitude in any given circumstance. His emotional mastery not only allowed him to survive, but empowered millions through his book Man's Search for Meaning. Frankl's leadership proves that self mastery begins with mastering your inner world, even when everything around you collapses. Another modern example is Angela Duckworth, the psychologist behind the concept of grit. Her research shows that sustained passion and perseverance, not raw talent, predict long term success. Duckworth, 2016. Self mastery fuels grit. Leaders with self mastery remain consistent even when obstacles mount. They continue when others quit. This steady persistence creates momentum that compounds over time. Self mastery also demands brutal honesty with yourself. Leaders who avoid mirrors eventually walk off cliffs. Self reflection is not navel gazing, it is intentional alignment. Ask yourself, what triggers me? What patterns do I repeat under stress? What values drive my decisions when no one is watching? And then there is the mind itself. Leaders must master not only their actions and emotions, but also their thoughts. Cognitive behavioral theory suggests that thoughts shape emotions, which shape behaviors. Leaders who intentionally feed themselves empowering, truthful, future-focused thoughts outperform those who spiral into doubt and negativity. As the ancient proverb says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. To lead with excellence, you must curate your inner world. Guard your mental inputs. Shape your mornings with intention. End your days with reflection. Practice gratitude. Eliminate toxic self-talk. Feed your focus. Cultivate joy. These are not soft disciplines. They are the hard-won habits of self-mastery. The greatest threat to your leadership is not external pressure. It is internal sabotage. Self-mastery protects you from self-destruction. It anchors you when storms rage, when critics roar, and when fatigue tempts you to settle. It keeps your values intact when shortcuts promise faster rewards. And it reminds you that you are not above accountability, even when success seduces you into believing otherwise. Self-mastery is also a discipline that evolves. Leaders must continually revisit and recalibrate their routines, habits, and mental frameworks as seasons change. What worked 5 years ago may need refining. The most successful leaders schedule personal retreats, engage in coaching, or maintain intentional accountability relationships to sustain growth. No one can gift you self-mastery. It is forged in the fire of early mornings, delayed gratification, hard choices, and quiet victories. It is the daily decision to rise above excuses, to stay committed when motivation fades, to choose purpose over preference. The law of self-mastery is not glamorous, but it is essential. Without it, every other leadership principle crumbles. With it, your leadership becomes stable, credible, and sustainable. Because leadership without self-mastery is fragile. Leadership with self-mastery, it is unstoppable. If the 30 Laws of Unstoppable Leadership inspired you, grab your full copy on Amazon today. Link in the description. Keep growing, keep leading, and stay unstoppable. Like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs it.